Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show podcast. Hello if you're new. So today's podcast is going to be a review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 12, Episode 5. So last week was quite a sad week. We saw the departure of Rock M. She was one of my personal favourites, but unfortunately she did lose the lip sync fair and square to Britta. It was a very sad and sorry sight. I think the girls did take it hard. You could tell that she was loved amongst the queens. So back into the workroom, Britta, she's upset. Obviously she was in the bottom and she kind of has this complex where she just kind of thought she was going to come into the competition and be the one to beat. And obviously she was saying, this has, her being in the bottom has her shook and how she's going to step her game up. But she does take the opportunity in the confessional to shade Aiden and basically say that she doesn't understand how she wasn't in the bottom when she was doing the bare minimum and she just seems to be coasting through this competition. Do I think Britta is speaking facts? In terms of last episode, yes. I think Aiden should have been in the bottom and she also said that she herself should not have been in the bottom. Now, is she speaking facts? I think based on last episode, I'd have to say yes. I do think she had a point there. I personally don't think that Britta should have been in the bottom. She didn't have the best outfits, but she didn't have the worst. I personally think it should have been Aiden in the bottom with Rock M. I know some people are saying Rock M shouldn't have been in the bottom, but I think her outfits last week were weak, so I think she definitely should have been in the bottom. But I think Rock M, if she didn't have that malfunction in the beginning and if she didn't forget the words, I think she probably would have had like a 90% chance of beating Aiden and still being there. I do think Aiden has been getting away with a lot so far. Like her outfits on the runway have been really basic. For somebody who said that they were going to come in, they were going to be the weird queen and they were going to basically be Sharon Needles 2.0, but all I'm seeing is safety pins. I can understand why the other girls are kind of just like feel like she's coasting. So in the beginning of the episode, it seems like all of the girls are taking the opportunity to shade Aiden. Nicky, she keeps it to the confessional and she basically says she doesn't know what the judges see in her and basically saying like they're always coming for her, but they're never really saying anything about Aiden's basic ass. I think her looks are basic as fuck, but what I will say about Aiden is that she does have personality. Like regardless of what you think of her drag, she is giving us entertainment. I feel like out of all of the girls, Aiden is probably the most entertaining. And of course, Jada actually does say it to Aiden's face and basically says that her outfit was basic and she's confused as to why that she wasn't in the bottom. Aiden basically defends herself and says, her outfit wasn't basic, that she did put thought into it and she wasn't being lazy, and basically saying how, the judges obviously see something in her and obviously see some like uniqueness about her. Now, I guess she is very unique. It is a very unique type of delusion she exudes. I got to give it to Aiden, the confidence that she has, the way that she backs herself. I just feel like what everyone can take from Aiden is that you really have to be your own biggest fan. It's obviously standard. All the girls are missing Rock M. Some of them are getting a bit emotional because Rock M was crying. She was wailing. I felt bad for Rock M after hearing her cry. And basically everyone's saying, how it makes them realize how much they want this. And obviously they praised the tops, which was Gigi and Nicky last week. So this week is an acting challenge. They don't have a mini challenge this week. And there wasn't any team captains this week, but they had two people pick what parts everyone got. And they were chosen randomly. I say quotation marks randomly. I just feel like the people who ended up getting randomly chosen seemed like quite a coincidence to me. But Gigi and Nicky were randomly chosen to assign the roles to other people. And I guess overall there was some shady casting, and I definitely think the producers were involved in trying to create a shady situation. Aiden asked for a specific role and they didn't give it to her despite nobody else wanting it. Aiden just takes it on the chin. I think deep down she knows that these girls don't respect her, so she probably knew they were going to try and mess with her by doing something like this. There was another drama with Widow and Pervy Pie. They both wanted the same role, and the role was kind of like a big role within the kind of Grey's Anatomy spoof. Instantly, I knew that Gigi and Nicky were going to give it to Pervy Pie. I feel like they were all like buddy with each other, so it wasn't a surprise to me that they gave it to Pervy Pie. They said, they thought that she would be better for the role. In terms of who I think probably would have done a better job, I think Pervy Pie would have done a better job, but I don't think it would have been a thing where Pervy Pie would do miles better than Widow. So obviously Widow is not happy. She was huffing and puffing like the whole challenge, like, oh, that I knew they were not going to give me the role. They're trying to sabotage me, and being like really jealous on set and stuff. And all of the girls were like basically saying that she needs to just get over it and accept it like Aiden does. And you know what? I hate things like that, because I'm not gonna lie, I've been slept on. There's like been so many parts where even when I was the best person for the role, at school and stuff like that, the school play, the role that you knew you would have done the best in and was the best candidate for to somebody else who's a known favourite amongst the drama department. It's getting a bit personal now. So Widow, of course, she had to just deal with it. That's the role she was given. That's the role she was going to have to do. But I think she was definitely entitled to feel some type of way about it, feel petty about it. I think that's her right. It's not like she went out of her way to sabotage Pervy Pie. So I just feel like when Gigi and Nicky were asking Aiden and Widow, oh, are you okay with us giving you this part, even though we know you didn't want this part? I just felt like that was unnecessary. That was shady, and I think that was the producers saying that. Ask them that because we know it's going to create some good TV, some conflict. Because in real life, you wouldn't say anything. You just say like, okay, that's your role and leave it. So I definitely think the producers had a hand in trying to create conflict amongst the whole role situation. So in terms of the roles that Nicky and Gigi choose for themselves, Gigi picks herself like a decent role. We know Gigi's a good actor. We know she has personality. So I was never really worried about that. But obviously Nicky did quite bad in the other improv acting challenge. So obviously I guess all eyes were going to be on her again. And Gigi suggested to Nicky that she should take a role of the baby, which had the least lines in the script. I guess somebody saying something like, along the lines of, it has less lines, I guess maybe insinuating because she's French. It'd be better if she had something with less lines, but it would mean that she'll have to give a lot more face, give a lot more facial expressions, and really force herself to stand out. When Nicky chose that role, I just kind of thought, she's probably going to be in the bottom. I can see it now. I instantly thought this could be a sticky one still, like Nicky. I just feel like she's kind of another one who's all talk, that says she's going to bring it, but then when the time comes, it doesn't really come. We're left looking. So I instantly kind of thought, Nicky could be somebody who's in trouble, somebody who's in the bottom. But I kind of just thought, let's wait until the challenge to see. So in terms of the Grey's Anatomy challenge, obviously we see the live take and then we see the edited take. So in terms of what I was kind of thinking in the live take, I thought that the tops were Pervy Pie. I thought that she did a good job in the challenge. Gigi, again, she did a decent job in the challenge. She really committed to her role. Widow, again, a great performance. She knew she had to show out, and that's what she did. She's not afraid to be over the top. And Jan, I think that Jan was actually the better doctor. I'm not even sure what the character was, but I know it's based off Meredith, I think. But I think Jan was the better Meredith in terms of her and Jackie Cox. Now, in terms of from the live take, who I thought was bad, I instantly thought Jada, because she had messed up her lines a bit and she was a bit stiff, and Nicky because there was no personality. There was bits where she wasn't really giving anything back in the improv, and her face the whole time just looked like she didn't want to be there. She was waiting for the take to be over with. So I was like, Nicky is definitely in the bottom. I knew that straight away. So as the girls are getting ready, Nicky is quite optimistic, and she's feeling very confident about her performance. She's saying she gave personality and she took herself out of her comfort zone. And then she basically said that she was feeling a bit insecure because she feels like she's struggling with certain stuff, namely the language barrier, and she kind of feels like maybe she shouldn't be here, and the girls are giving her a pep talk. And obviously we know that she did bad, so we know that she did bad. And again, I think it's a problem when you've done bad in a challenge and you don't actually realize that you've done bad. I felt like even her first improv performance was better than this one. I feel like if she had done the same standard as she did in her first improv performance, she probably might have been able to escape the bottom. And that was quite interesting. And I guess the whole language barrier thing, I'm not gonna lie, I think that is just an excuse, because in the confessional she is fine. And if anything, and this is just a universal thing, it is harder to free flow than it is to say things that you have rehearsed. So in terms of her saying that her language thing is holding her back, I don't buy it, because for me personally, her English is fine. Obviously, one of the judges brought it up as it being a potential issue of her maybe not showing her personality. She has now taken that, ran with it, and maybe kind of stored that storyline as to, well, if they try and call me out, this is going to be my excuse card, because Aylin's excuse card seems to work. So it seems like maybe she was trying to keep that language barrier thing as an excuse. But what do you guys think? Do you feel like Nicky really genuinely felt like she was struggling because of, her being French, or do you feel like she was low-key using it as an excuse? We're back to the sob stories this week. We didn't have any sob stories last week, and they start talking about mums in the workroom, and Pervy Pie basically says, I think it was Pervy Pie, basically says that her mum has always been supportive of her. Then Jackie Cox gets emotional, basically says, obviously she's half Iranian, second generation problems, second generation parents, they want you to be the doctor, the professional. And she didn't say it explicitly, but I think the mum might be just like tolerant of her being gay, but obviously still wants her to fall in line as much as possible, those ones out of sight, out of mind. And basically that she doesn't know that he is a drag queen, and he doesn't know she is on the show, and that obviously now she's gonna know. But he even has like she even has a little message to her mother saying, I hope when you watch this, you know that this makes me happy. And I can definitely relate to that on some level. I could definitely relate to that being a first gen, even if when you don't have your parents' support and you just say, well, I'm going to do it anyway, it does affect you. And, as a child, you're always going to crave that acceptance. You're always going to crave, that support from your parents. So I can definitely relate to that. Widow gets emotional and reveals that her mother died when they were 17, and they left. The last thing that they said to each other was them arguing, and she never got a chance to come out to her, and that's always kind of played on her. But she believes that if her mother was still alive, she would have been a big supporter of her, being gay and being a drag queen. So yeah, I was living for the sob story content. Sometimes I feel like it could be a bit cheesy, but I feel like it was some nice sob story content this episode. One thing I will say is that Nicky went in the confessional basically after Widow's heart to heart, basically saying, now I get why Widow is like so like unpredictable, because she's got like a mum, my mum died when I was young complex, basically insinuating that. And I just felt like when they showed that in the confessional, I was just thinking, Nicky, shut the hell up. I thought that was very rude and that was very insensitive. I don't think Widow is unpredictable. I think that, if anything, she's been very predictable. So I don't know why Nicky felt the need to put her 2 cents in there, especially considering what Widow was talking about and how personal that was. I just thought that was very distasteful. Then we move on to the studio, the runway, and we have Normani as a guest judge. Normani is absolutely beautiful. Her makeup was on point. She literally looked like a doll. And yeah, I think she did a decent job as a judge. It was going to be tough going on after Leslie Jones, because she was just such a powerhouse, and I still feel like she should be back next season as a regular. So today's runway theme was Planet of the Capes, and in terms of the best outfits, I think Gigi had the best outfit. High fashion again, she can literally do no wrong. Then I'd say Nicky, Then I'd have to say Nicky, but I did have a few issues with it. I felt like the bodysuit was really well constructed. That was giving me life. But I feel like the cape was a little bit half-assed, I do think. And I feel like if there was a bit more effort put into the cape, I think she would have had the best outfit. It did cheapify the outfit, I think, the cape that she thought she could get away with. And then in terms of the worst, I think it was Crystal's outfit. Again, it was just a little bit pedestrian, a little bit discombobulating. Then she had this kind of big flower thing on her head that looked quite cheap. And then the necklaces that were all different colours. Again, I guess it's her aesthetic, but it just looks a bit pedestrian jumbo cell. I think it definitely looked a bit more constructed than what I have seen prior, but I just feel like I thought we were getting somewhere with the last runway. So yeah, I just want to see better constructed outfits from Crystal Method, because I feel like she could be a contender. And then Heidi's, I just feel like the outfit is a basic sparkly bodysuit, and then she just threw on any fabric that she could find from the fabric box. Very lazy. She did try and make it work, but it was just very clearly lazily made and very pedestrian. So after they show the edited footage, I felt like the best people were from the edited footage were clearly Pervy Pie, Jan, Gigi and Widow, basically the same as I said already. And the worst was still Jada. She did come across very stiff on screen. You know, because she had such a big role, it was just very obvious. And Nicky as well. And the thing is, her lines were fine, but the delivery was very subdued, and her facial expressions, like, honestly, it looked like she was on anesthetic. There was like no facial expressions. I was just like, Nicky, Nicky, give me something, please, Nicky. I knew after watching that clip, Nicky was like 100% in the bottom. So they switched it up this week with like the deliberation. So they said who the tops were first. So the tops were Jan, Jackie, Pervy Pie, Aiden, Gigi, Widow, and the remainder were in the bottom. And I agree with that. The camera pans to Britta, and Britta is just like, is looking like, how the hell am I in the bottom, and how the hell is Aiden in the top? Now, at this point in the episode, that's when I'm going to have to disagree with Britta, and I feel like Britta is definitely hating on Aiden at this point, because Aiden did a decent job. She definitely did a better job than Britta did. So I think Britta is definitely just hating at this point. And in terms of who I thought that the winner was, I feel like judging off the episodes, I have to say Pervy Pie was the best actress. So I do agree with that. But again, it just feels weird having to praise her, or like, because we know that she did a good job, but it's like, because there's always that argument, should we separate, you know, the person from the art when it comes to all of these predators, namely, say, Polanski. People say, you know, regardless of what you think of him, even though he's a literal paedophile and rapist, people like, watch his work. You know, he creates arts, he creates masterpieces. And in normal life, I just avoid those people, because I just feel like there are so many decent people in this world creating good art. Why would I put this rapist art above them? And I think that despite these messages that we're seeing at the end of every episode, we donated this, the producers have put us in an uncomfortable situation where we're kind of forced to see her as a competitor. We're forced to appreciate her art unless you like literally just skip every part that she's in. Now, I guess the producers are going to do what they want, but I just feel like they should have done a mute edit. They should have pixelated her out, because it's uncomfortable seeing her win and seeing her effectively do a good job, for me anyway. Does anyone else feel that way, or are you somebody who can separate the person from the art? So obviously the rest of the queens are in the bottom. All of the top queens were safe, and we go to the judges' critique, and first up was Jada. They basically said that, you know, they could tell that she was thinking too much about things and that she looked stiff, but they said that they like her look. When it comes to Britta, they basically say that her outfit was basic, that her acting was okay, but it was very one note. Heidi, one key thing to note is that Rue doesn't even say her name. She says, I think she says hide and seek or some shit. But I just feel like that was very disrespectful from Rue. I feel like if she didn't want to say hiding in closet, which I'm not even sure why Rue has a problem with that. Like, I don't even understand why Rue has such a problem with that name when she's literally had racist drag queens brought back onto her show. I just don't understand why now this name is such a big problem. But yeah, I just think it was just highly disrespectful. I feel like if she really just didn't like the name, just stick it to Heidi. I felt like I was very mean. They basically said that they needed her to give a bit more in the performance, that she was very subdued. And they basically read her outfit and basically said that her outfit was shit. And Crystal, they actually liked her outfit, which I was a bit surprised about. And they said that they liked her makeup as well. And they basically said that she looked like a Polynesian princess. And then all of a sudden the camera cuts to Britta. And Britta is just looking pissed because obviously Britta is like half Polynesian. And she kind of thinks of herself as, you know, the Polynesian queen. So she was just like, ugh. This is just horrible. So obviously she's just in a mood because she just feels like she's just been double insulted. First Aiden is in the top and she isn't. Now they're calling somebody who isn't even Polynesian a Polynesian queen. Now she knows how I felt like when she had the cheek to say that people say that she looks black in drag. And then Nicky, it was just over. It was pretty negative. They said that they should have given more. And they said that she needed a proper cape. And then there's the first kind of, who do you think should go home? Curveball. Jada says Heidi. She said because of her look. Britta says Nicky because of she did poorly in the challenge. Heidi says Nicky because she did poorly in the challenge. Crystal says Nicky as well. And then Nicky picked herself. And I never understand why people do this. And I feel like after that lip sync, I know why. And I'll get onto that. But of course, Rue is just like, bitch, you better pick somebody. And she eventually says Heidi because of her runway. So in terms of who I thought should have been in the bottom, obviously Nicky should have been in the bottom because of her performance. Her performance was just so much worse than everybody else's. Even though Jada, in my opinion, had the next worst performance, I can understand why she wasn't put in the bottom, and I can accept why she wasn't put in the bottom. And I think because even though I think Jada was the weakest, I don't think she was like miles behind everybody else. So I think I definitely would have taken the runway. So I think based on performance and outfit, I would have also put Heidi in the bottom. I felt like Crystal did a visibly better job than Heidi in the challenge. So therefore, it was just a bit too basic for me. And then, of course, the outfit that she thought she could get away with would have landed her in the bottom for me. I think the judges made the right call this week in terms of who was in the bottom. And, of course, the lip sync song today is from Kim Petras, Heart to Break. I think that's the title of the song. But, yeah, I'm a little bit pet peeved that they didn't do a Normani song. I thought they were going to do Motivation. I'm a bit upset that they didn't do that. So, the lip sync challenge is on. And I think this is probably the best lip sync solo that we've seen. I think Heidi was definitely doing her thing. She was absolutely perfect in this. This is how you lip sync. I think Heidi definitely has the potential to be a lip sync assassin in this show. Effortlessly, she is a trick person, but she didn't rely on the tricks, and it was a kind of poppy 80s / throwback vibe. She transcended that vibe. And, you know, and she filmed that spot on. The emotion was spot on. It wasn't just about dancing for her. She put on a performance. Now, Nicky's performance was very low effort, very low energy. And I think she gave up. I think she gave up with that lip sync. She didn't want to fight anymore. And I think when she was talking about how she didn't think she deserved to be here, I think she definitely did get into her own head and being her own saboteur, as she was saying. I was definitely disappointed. I thought we were finally going to see what I thought she was capable of. But after that lip sync, I'm just kind of thinking, I hope that it was because she was giving up. Because if that is her standard of lip syncing, I don't know who's going to be booking her. And she needs to go take some lip syncing lessons, because I was very disappointed. And I think her not really giving that much effort robbed us of a really good lip sync, because Heidi did an amazing job, but it felt like a solo lip sync because Nicky was just very low energy. Did anyone feel like Nicky did something, or do you feel like, her lip sync was a bit dead? And, obviously we know Heidi has won. Again, 10 out of 10 lip sync. I think she's probably in my top 10, one of the most strongest lip syncers I've ever seen throughout all of the 12 seasons. I think she could definitely be a lip sync assassin. And even when her wig came off, she put that thing back on. When that came off, I was like, if you're going to put that wig back on, you better put it on in 1 second. Because we saw what happened with Rock M and her trying to rip off that skirt, honey. But yeah, she definitely secured that wig back on. But yeah, Heidi, you need to secure your wigs. How are your wigs coming off like that? Girl, come on, do better, please. Anyway, so we know Nicky is gone. And even when she, says bye to people, and when we have the final footage of her before she leaves back in the workroom, it looked like she was over it. She was over the situation. And I really hope that is what's gone down here, that she was just drained. And I think that is what has gone on here. I don't necessarily think that she is a rubbish performer. I think she was just over the situation. She definitely has a lot of potential. I think maybe she just needs to get right. With RuPaul just calling people, making fun of people's names on stage in front of everyone, I'm not surprised that somebody would not think that this opportunity is necessarily worth it. So yeah, it just makes me question the environment that these queens are competing in. You know what, Nicky, I would have loved to have seen more of her, but I think it was definitely her time to go, because it's clear that she wanted to go. But yeah, au revoir, Nicky. But yeah, do you think that the right two people were in the bottom this week? And I'm not going to ask who you think should have won the lip sync, because I think it's very obvious. But yeah, is anyone upset that Nicky is gone? Let me know. So on Twitter, somebody has said that they thought that Jada should have been in the bottom instead of Nicky. So it should have been Heidi and Jada. So it should have been Jada and Heidi in the bottom together. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I strongly disagree. Nicky's performance was absolute shit. If Jada was in the bottom, it must have been to replace Heidi, but definitely not Jada to replace Nicky. I can't get down with that. I'm sorry. Does anyone agree with that? I'd be very interested to know. People are pointing out that Aiden hasn't been read for wearing the same wig every single week. And thinking about it, she really has just been rinsing out this wig, Charlotte. I'm not even sure if she's washed it. She really just doesn't care. People reckon that RuPaul is thirsty for Crystal Method out of drag. Potentially, I mean, she does look like RuPaul's type. People are calling out the hypocrisy between the critiques of Aiden and Crystal. They're telling Crystal to change up her look, but they're not telling Aiden. And you know what, I have to agree, because Aiden's pretty much been coming out with the same face every week, and the face that she paints is like, I guess the face that she paints, I personally like to see her switch up as well. People are upset that Nicky Doll has left. People are upset that Aiden Zane is still there. People are saying that Britta is jealous of Aiden and that she's unnecessarily coming for her. People don't understand how Britta is so confident despite always being in the bottom. People are saying that they should have cancelled this season of Drag Race. And I can see people's point. I think Pervy Pie being in there, I just don't understand why they didn't pixel her out. People are not here for RuPaul trying to change Heidi's name. People are defending Aiden and saying that she deserved to be there this week. She deserved to stay this week because she did good and she did a decent job in the challenge. And I definitely agree. I think last week I could definitely understand. I think she should have been in the bottom last week. But, she did a good job. She definitely did a good job this episode. So I feel like there is some unnecessariness in terms of the attacks. I feel like coming for Aiden this week is just a bit unnecessary. Especially when your fave, Nicky, just was not performing this episode. I'm hate to say it, but your girl Nicky was shit this episode and she deserved to go home. People are not here for Pervy Pie being the winner again. And I think people are just sick and tired of seeing her on the show, to be honest. And people are also saying they don't understand why they didn't lip sync to a Normani song. People are saying that they hate that Pervy Pie is talented. People are saying that RuPaul was making bad decisions. People are saying that Britta is picking on Aiden because she's insecure. And that's pretty much the tone of the timeline. It's Snatch Game next week. I'm not really sure if I'm that excited about it because I just feel like overall the acting hasn't really impressed me that much so far. But, you know, it's a classic one. It's an iconic episode in, you know, RuPaul Drag Race history. So, you know, anyway, you know my ass will be tuning in. But as always, let me know what your thoughts were on this episode. Let me know what your thoughts were on this review. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you have, don't forget to press your notification bell so you'll know when the next review is dropping. Till next time, guys. Bye.